Welcome to Founder Stories with Mona Juneja. This is the podcast you'll wish you found sooner. In each episode, I talk to founders who left their 9 to 5 to build their own business. They share mistakes, late nights, and the moments they almost gave up. If you've been thinking of starting something, these stories will give you the push you need. So let's get started. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to Founder Stories with Mona podcast. Great to have you on the podcast as a guest.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love your podcast, Mona.
Thank you, Jamie. You once had a 9 to 5 job and now you have your own company. So it will be great to hear from you, your journey, your background, whatever you want to share so that it inspires the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I did have a 9 to 5 for many years, actually. A little bit about my story. I actually started working really young. I think at 17, I already had a full-time job just because I wanted to learn how to make money really, really early, as fast as I could out of high school. So I did that, and even through my time in college. Interestingly enough, my career actually started in hospitality. So I was in hotels. I actually started at the front desk, and then I eventually moved on to managing a team at hotels, and then I moved into managing the entire hotel operation. While I was working there, I was already about 5 years in, and I just remember thinking, "Wow, why am I so unhappy about this career?" And I think a lot of it was because there were just systems that were just old, a lifestyle that I think could be improved. And so I thought there's a better way where I can still enjoy this side of business where I'm embedded in learning and growing my skills, but there had to be a better way. So I actually left the hotel industry and I got into the tech industry, which my first exposure in the tech industry was Airbnb, where I learned, the booking domain space. That was my first entrance. But that was in 2013 when I moved into the tech industry. Fast forward to, I mean, 2025, I mean, that's over 10 years where I just told myself, just work really hard, move up in the corporate ladder. I thought that was my identity. I thought moving up, getting better titles, getting bigger salaries was the dream. But what's crazy is that every time I did that, because um, I did it for a while, but I always felt something was missing. And I realize now that I always wanted to do my own thing. I just wanted to learn how to do it. So while I was at these different jobs, what I was really doing is taking practice and thinking about how can I apply this, learning all of these things. But I was never satisfied. Even if I made it to director in a company which is also in the booking domain space, and um, it sounds great. And I had a team, and I had a great relationship with the team, and I still wish them all the success, and I still have a relationship with them. But to be honest, I was burning out. I was dedicating my time to that business for a long time, and it started eating out at me.
Good to hear about your background. I had no idea. I mean, even though we've known each other for quite some time, I had no idea that you started so young. You started at 17. That's amazing. And so what's happening right now? So after you had a team, what next? Where was this and what happened next?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking back, when I speak about burnout, I mean, there was this whole thing where every single day, Monday through Friday, I'd show up at the same time, I'd leave at the same time, and then I had only a few hours left in the day to enjoy my life. And it wasn't enough for me. But I tried to be positive. So I just did it, right? Because I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. Uh, and so what I found I started realizing what I was doing, and I found myself working extra hours, not because anybody asked me to, and I wasn't trying to move up anymore. It was just natural where I was addicted to working. And it started to take a toll on my body, actually. I actually gained more weight, and I actually experienced mobility issues where I was getting back problems and hip problems. And I changed a couple things, like maybe an exercise ball, maybe getting massages, going to physical therapy, and it wasn't enough. So I you know kept thinking about what my opportunities were next. And I had been keeping a secret for a long time while I was a director, and that was that I was already building a hotel app on my free time.
That's amazing. And this was like a year ago, right? Must be
Yeah,
a,
so absolutely. So last year I started building Hotelia, and funny story how it started is because I was actually every time I was traveling and I would go to hotels, there was a long line, or if it was my turn to check in, I was still in front at the front desk, and the person at the front desk was always taking a long time. So they were either looking something up or typing away. They weren't looking at me, and I just thought, why is it taking so long? Why aren't they just proactive? So it actually started from annoyance that that was a problem. And then I thought, I'm going to go to Airbnbs then. I'm going to try Airbnbs because you can self check in. And then I realized there's no service. So I reimagined, and I thought, you know what? I've been in the booking domain space for a long time. And I said, I'm going to fix that because I'm tired of going in and waiting, checking in and just waiting really long. Or I was annoyed with, the hotels asking me again, what's your name? What's your email? When I already gave them that. And the problem was that every time I booked through a third party, that the hotels don't have that information. So that's why they had to ask me. So I decided to start building for that. So it started from annoyance and from a reimagining that one day, at my hotel, I would have the best booking system ever.
I, I love it. I love your story, Jamie. So you have a tool now, you have a company, you're a founder of a tech company called Hotelia, and you're about to launch, right? Or have you launched?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We did a soft launch just this Tuesday on the 24th of March. I did a soft launch, so we've opened the doors to our first cohort of users. So it's by invite only. So we're looking specifically to onboard independent boutique style hotels, breakfast inns, uh, Airbnb cabin, people with rental properties who are not a franchise. So yeah, we've opened the doors just recently. Yeah, we're calling it a soft launch because we want to make sure that everybody that joins Hotelia is getting all the support that they need to get a success right out the gate once they're on.
Great, I love it. So, the idea of Hotelia was born out of your own problem, your pain point, and you decided to solve it while you had a 9 to 5 job.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, I was always working on Hotelia and building it. And what I realized is that I was prioritizing my 9 to 5, and I think when I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore is because I started falling in love with my own product. So I've always been a big fan of product. My position in in the tech industry, in my tech roles, have been driving the product, the customer experience, and I love that. But I realized, hey, I've been doing this for companies for so many years. Why don't I prioritize that for myself? So I've always had this dream. I would say since I was young, because I always wanted to know how to make money, how to make money and figure out how can I have something of my own. But it took me I feel like it took me a long time, but I mean, I guess it's never late. It's never late, but I finally made the decision. I said, I need to start prioritizing myself. So it was really hard to actually leave. and to make that leap. But I did it, and I'm very happy that I did. It was a hard conversation that I had to have with the CEO at my previous company, but I had to talk to myself and say, this is something courageous that I'm going to do. But if I do it now, a lot of things can change for me. I can start my own, I can start working on my dreams full time. And I can also address the health issues that I had from pushing myself too hard at the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that, Jamie, because if you don't take that leap, if you don't risk it, you don't get to live your dreams. You just don't. You can just dream about it at night, but you don't get to live your
Right.
desired life. Yeah. So I love that you did that. I also have a similar story, which you know, but this podcast is not about me. This is about you. So I'm going to not talk about myself. Hotelia, right? How are you different? Before that, let me ask you, do you have any coding knowledge? This is an app, this is a tech app, and you have always been in customer support and booking domain. Your experience has been on that. Did you hire a tech team, or how did you manage going about building a tech platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of backtrack, the best experience I got working at 10 companies was working with the dev team. So I always had knowledge of how to plan a product, how to create a backlog, how to create features that people want, how to even create user stories. So I started that way. So I was very embedded into the business. I mean, I think I went out of my way to learn a little bit more of how do I properly uh, frame and give an engineer, for example, a prompt. It's so interesting because now there's AI, and before, when you think about it, you when I had my interactions with a developer and AI, it's interesting because the conversation and the requirements are similar. Developers need to know what is it that you want to build, what's the outcome, and why. And so I had that advantage because I was already doing that in my roles. But yes, so in 2018, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. In 2018, I created my first app. And this is before I had any skills in development. And this was before the AI vibe coding era. And so what I did is I created an app with the tools that I had. It was interesting. It was funny because I used, screenshots, different mock-ups, and I pushed it. I created a slide deck, and I thought, okay, here's this app that I want to push out into the world that's going to help restaurants, fill in their slow times. And I realized that I was missing something. I didn't have a way to build it. I didn't have a way to build the infrastructure and the back end. And so my first thought was, okay, I'll hire somebody abroad and maybe they can help me build it. And then I stumbled upon another roadblock, which was, how am I going to pay for this? And because I didn't come from money and I didn't know how to go about that. And so that was another roadblock. And so I didn't push that product forward, and it really broke my heart. And I always left it, as a memory, like, hey, I built that, I did that, but I never brought it to life. So fast forward to 2025, that's when I learned how to use vibe coding, and I realized, oh, this is available to me. So obviously, I jumped on that vibe coding era really quickly. I would say actually I started in the late 2024 is when I started learning how to vibe code. And what I did is I created a really good MVP product, and I presented it to a mentor that I have who's a software architect, and my developer friends. And now what we're doing is bringing it to life. So right now where it is you asked me, did I hire a team? No, I did not. I did this all myself, but I did get the guidance of people who are familiar with actually building with code. But I did this using different vibe coding platforms so that I can eventually build my MVP product.
It's very, very brave of you, Jamie. Really, hats off to you. I'm so impressed with all your skills. And the thing is that you're always very proactive in learning new skills. You know, you've never hesitated. And that goes a long way. You're always ready to wear different hats, learn different skills, and apply them. I love your story, and I just, admire you as a person. Okay, so the next question is, if anyone is looking to leave their 9 to 5 job to start something of their own, what are a few things which you would like to tell them before they even, think about quitting?
Absolutely. I want to start with what I had to go through, and I realized I was blocking myself because I was stuck. At 30, I said, not even 30, at 25, I said, I want to do this. And I didn't. And then years went by and I said, I want to do my own thing, and I didn't. And I was stuck. And I was stuck, but I was also comfortable because it wasn't hard for me to get a job. It wasn't hard for me to get a promotion. And so I was too comfortable. But taking that leap of faith, I started to realize that I had internal beliefs. So what I want others to think about is something that I did that helped me is I thought about what are my internal beliefs right now that I need to get rid of, I need to change so that I could change my life. And I realized that one major belief that I had that was not serving me was that I was so burnt out that I didn't believe in myself anymore. And I thought, I could do this, but I need validation. I need X. I need somebody, I need mentorship, or, I always said I need something. But the reality was that what I really needed to do was make the decision. That's when I took action. So I realized, okay, if I feel like I don't know everything, how can I change that belief? And what I did instead is I started going to workshops. I started putting myself in rooms where with other founders and entrepreneurs where they were already working on, they were beyond me. They were past that step, and they were working on helping other people open up to share their story. And I think for me, I was working at these companies behind the scenes for so long that, coming out and telling the public, hey, I've been building, and here's what I'm capable of. That was scary. But thankfully, I did the work and the transformation to say, I did this, and I did it out of frustration. I did it out of love for the hospitality industry. And I can't wait to continue building more.
Great. So, Jamie, what are the next steps for Hotelia? When are you doing a full launch? And where do you see yourself 2 or 3 years down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, we actually just opened for the early access. So if there is a hotelier out there, this resonates, you can find me or you can Hotelia on Hotelia.io, or you can find me. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. But that right now, what I'm excited about is acquiring more relationships with small business owners, because I really want to show them how I can help them streamline their booking process with Hotelia. A lot of the hotels that I look at online, they either have, they usually have a booking widget that's really old, or a button that directs people to booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb. And not only that, but maybe their website, customers aren't really clear on what kind of experience they're getting. So right now we're in that stage of helping independent hotels, and really partnering with them, so that we can collaborate on some of those stories, and tell the world, how it's improved for them. So I'm looking forward to that. As far as the full launch, what I hope to do is, as soon as we acquire a few more partners, I would love to open the doors. And the way I see it is I want the app to be super intuitive and frictionless. When, I'm making an app for people who don't understand tech. So they can quickly log in, start the free trial. There's no paywall. Learn the platform. Once you feel comfortable setting it up and you're confident, hit the ground running. So that's what I'm really focused on.
Okay, all right, lovely. So what we are going to do is we're going to leave your details in the description so that if someone were to reach out to you, it's just very easy for them. One last question. Are you planning to acquire small and independent hotel owners globally?
Right now, I've launched in the US first, but because the booking engine is powered by Stripe, Stripe is a global uh, uh, guest payment or any payment system provider. So it's global. So in the other countries where it's available, we're working really hard to be compliant in the UK, for example, and Europe. So that's our next step. But yes, the goal is definitely global, wherever
No.
Stripe takes payments.
Okay, great. Jamie, it was lovely having you on my
Thank
podcast.
you.
Yes, and I wish you all the best. And I hope to see you around very soon in Southeast Asia. And yes, if you have any last words for our users, that'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Mona, for inviting me onto the podcast. I love this work that you're doing. And for anybody out there listening, I think this is a sign that you've probably been looking for. If there's something that you want to do, the best thing that you can do is do it for yourself, and you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mona.
Thanks for listening. This episode was sponsored by Bear Connect, an AI powered LinkedIn automation tool that helps you save hours every week. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you follow or subscribe and share it with at least one person who needs a reminder to follow their dream. See you next time.